Hi, this is Sonia Ramos, owner of FreshBettyLifestyle.com, and you can find out more about me and my programs at www.freshbettylifestyle.com. I'm here this morning to tell you about spring running tips, and I'm just going to give you 5 really quick spring running tips if you're starting running or if you've got a race or an event that you're training for like I am. I've started a couple weeks ago, just slowly, gradually getting back into running. I usually ski all winter long, so I don't do a lot of running in the winter. So I'm getting my body back into doing that activity and reintroducing my muscles to something that they love to do, even though they don't want me to do it at first, which shows up in the form of soreness. But that's okay. You just move beyond that because your muscles have an amazing memory to do all the things that you love to do. They just have to remember how to do it. So, tip number 1, dressing for the weather. So I live in Minnesota. It's still pretty cold here. There's still a lot of ice and snow scattered around, so you have to be pretty careful. But it's also really important to dress appropriately. So I've got on a vest, a thermal zip top. I've got on a hat. I'll wear thin gloves, and I've got on tights and a thinner pair of smart wool socks and a pair of running shoes. The reason why I still wear smart wool socks is because there's a lot of moisture right now with melting ice and snow. So I might step into a puddle really, if I'm not really sticking to dry sidewalks. And so if that moisture gets in a sock, I don't want a really thin sock on. I want that wool to keep my feet warm because there's nothing worse than chafing and having really cold feet because your socks aren't warm enough. So I would definitely recommend warm socks. If it's dry and warm where you're at, go ahead, wear shorts, whatever is comfortable for you to run in. But just be aware of the weather outside and dress appropriately. The second tip is make sure that you are doing your appropriate level of fitness. So whether you're just beginning to start running, if you've never done it before, or if you've ran for years and you're seasoned and you are really experienced with running, stay in your appropriate level of fitness. Some people overdo it and they'll get hurt and then they're out and they can't run anyway. So I think it's better to be more conservative when you first start out. Even if you're seasoned and experienced, if you haven't been running all winter, ease yourself in. Maybe start with a 3 or 4 mile run. And if you're just a beginning and 3 or 4 miles seems like, oh my God, like start with about 5 or 10 minutes or 7 minutes. Give yourself a really reachable goal to start out with and just build on that a little bit every day. Like I start with half an hour and then I'll add 2 minutes on, I'll add another 3 minutes on, and I'll just keep on adding up. And before I know it, within a month, I'm already up to an hour. And it just warms your muscles up. It gets them used to the activity again without any strain or overworking yourself and making yourself exhausted and possibly injured. So that's tip number 2, staying within your appropriate level of fitness. Tip number 3 is make sure that you are eating the appropriate amount of calories to be able to go out for your run. Oftentimes, I will go out, and I've done this, I can't tell you how many times, where I haven't eaten enough, and then I go out, and then halfway through the run, I'm just like, oh, I can't go any further. I crash because my blood sugar has just plummeted. So make sure you eat some kind of a carbohydrate. Like a perfect pre-run breakfast, if you go in the morning, is a piece of whole grain toast with some almond butter or peanut butter and a banana. That's perfect. And about an hour and a half after that, head out and you'll stay stable because you've got the carbohydrate, you've got the fat and the protein. So it's like the perfect pre-run breakfast, or a big bowl of oatmeal. That'll keep you going. That'll really stick to the ribs. So eating an appropriate amount of food to fuel you for your run. That's tip number 3. Tip number 4, it may seem obvious, but remember to breathe through the run. Lots of runners will do a lot of chest breathing where they're breathing from all the way up here, especially beginner runners. Bring that breath up from deep in the belly. If you've done yoga before, tap into the yogic knowledge of the diaphragm breathing. Really bring it up from deep in the belly. Feel yourself, feel your entire upper body expanding, and just imagine all that fresh oxygenated blood going all over the body. And then that will help you breathe. And what I've started doing, and I'm finding it extremely beneficial to my running performance, if you're going for races or events or anything, this is a great tip. Practice breathing through your nose. It's really hard at first, but just start with like half a block. Pick a block and tell yourself, okay, I'm going to breathe through my nose only. So you're and you do that for half a block and then go back to regular in and out through your mouth respirations. And that will help. And if you do that throughout the run, it improves your efficiency so much. Try it out. And then the fifth and last tip is to give yourself appropriate time to stretch after your run. Even if you're just starting and you're going out for about 5-minute runs, give yourself 10 minutes after you get back to really stretch your body. Stretch those muscles that you just moved, and they will lengthen and soften, and you will be so flexible. And by the time you go out for your next run, you're going to be even more strong. So those are my 5 tips. I hope I see you out running. And if you're training for a race or an event, good luck. And I'll be coming out with more videos. This is going to be a 3-part series, so I'll have another one for you very shortly. Stay tuned for that.